I've never felt more certain before now that every single failure, every single rejection is a good thing. It is setting you on the right path and it is here for an intentional reason. So, no matter how much it feels like life might be going wrong right now, no matter how much failure you might be experiencing, no matter how many times you've been rejected lately, in this episode, I'm going to tell you why that is good. This failure, this rejection might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. It might be the thing that leads you to something truly incredible. In this episode, I'm going to tell you why failure is such a good thing, why we see failure as such a negative thing, and how that's hurting us. Share personal instances and people you might know who failed, who actually are some of the most successful people in the world. And finally, the reasons why this failure, this rejection is such a good thing. The shifts that you need, those things that are going to actually help pull you out of seeing failure as a bad thing, because it's really not. So you are going to feel like a winner at the end of this episode, I promise you. And like I said, this has been really, really transformative in my own life recently. And again, I've never felt more confident that every single failure, every single quote rejection has only set me on the path that is truly more aligned and truly meant for me. But before we dive into the episode, if you are new here, don't forget to press follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. And even if you're not new, if you're not already following, press that button really quick. And also, if you are a returning listener to the show, if you've enjoyed Fulfilled, if it's added something positive to your life, leave a rating and review on the show. I would love to hear your thoughts, and this would mean the world in my efforts to help grow the Fulfilled community and help Fulfilled have the impact that I really wanted to. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and let's dive in. Let's talk about why the failure, the rejection that you are navigating is a good thing. But first, let's talk about why we see failure and rejection as such a negative thing. Why is it that failure feels so hard? Why do we have this major fear of failure? So we all have this idea of what life needs to look like, what our life should look like, right? We have this picture of what a successful and ideal life is. And when life doesn't look that way, when it doesn't meet our expectations, then we feel like we've failed. When reality doesn't meet that picture in our mind, we think it's a rejection. We think we did something wrong. We think that because they don't match, it's a failure. So that's one big reason. And then also the Psychology Today article opened my eyes to a couple additional scientific reasons that I want to share with you. So they specifically got into why we struggle to really learn from failure. Because one of the truths I'm going to dive into is failure is the best teacher that we have, right? There's so much to learn from it, but there's something within us that doesn't want to accept failure, doesn't want to embrace it. And it prevents us from really learning from it, from seeing failure as ever being a positive thing. So the first reason they shared is emotional. We're so invested in feeling good. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel good about what we're doing in life. Of course, we want to prioritize feeling good about ourselves. And if we think we failed, then of course we're not going to feel good about ourselves. This desire that we have to feel good about who we are and good about the work that we're doing is far stronger than our desire to learn from failure. We care more about feeling good than welcoming in that critical feedback. We don't want to accept anything that makes us feel not good enough, that makes us feel not worthy, that makes us feel incapable. So emotionally, we want to prioritize feeling good. And that's why we can reject failure so much and why we often don't want to accept it and don't want to lean into it. And the second reason that the article dives into is cognitively, in our minds, we are always looking for information and proof that strengthens our current expectations and our current beliefs. And none of us are expecting to fail. None of us want to prove to ourselves that we've failed. We want to prove that we're successful. We want to look for information that reassures us that we've succeeded, that we can, that we are capable. So what happens is we either intentionally or unintentionally overlook the information that might suggest we failed, that might suggest that we weren't successful, because what that would suggest is that we are incapable or that we are out of control. So both emotionally and cognitively, failure does not feel safe to us. Failure is not something that we want to accept, even if it's a big teacher for us. So those are the reasons why failure feels like such a negative thing. But again, in this episode, we're going to turn that around, because the truth is seeing failure in this negative light and avoiding ever accepting failure and welcoming failure, what it means is we're staying in our comfort zone. We're preventing ourselves from stepping into any situation where we might encounter failure, because our body thinks it's protecting us in that way by avoiding that failure. Because again, that feels unsafe, right? Emotionally, cognitively, it makes us feel incapable. It makes us feel like a bit negative and maybe like not fully worthy, right? Not successful. But in keeping us safe, It's preventing us from stepping into our true potential. And so seeing failure in this light is just keeping us and preventing us from taking the risks that are going to lead to the life that we really want. And that's why I really want to shift your perspective on failure today and share these specific reasons that will open your eyes to see that this failure is a good thing. And this is guiding you on the path that you are meant to be on. So before I share with you the specific reasons why failure and rejection is a positive thing, and why you're going to leave feeling like a winner, I thought it'd be impactful to share just a couple examples of celebrities you might know who failed countless times or have experienced big failure that only led them to being on top, right? That only led them to their success. So one that you might be familiar with, Michael Jordan. Statistically, he's literally missed over 9,000 shots. He's lost over 300 games in his lifetime, and he was cut from his high school basketball team. Of course, just looking at those statistics, those all feel like failures, right? Like missing that many shots, losing hundreds of games, getting cut from his high school basketball team only to then go on to become one of the best basketball players in the world, if not the best. I'm not in tune enough with basketball to really know. All of these, quote, failures, if you zoom in, yes, it looks like a failure. But if you zoom out, these failures are what led him to becoming so great, to becoming the amazing athlete that he is. And this is all going to tie together when I get to the specific examples. But another one that I feel very inspired by because he's in the podcast space, but a name that you all probably know, Shetty. He left his corporate job after he was very unhappy there, went into monkhood for a couple years. And when he left monkhood, he didn't have a job. He was in debt. He didn't know what was next for him. He was pretty much at this place where it seemed like a rock bottom, right? It seemed like failure on the surface. But it was from that place that he discovered his purpose in creating On Purpose, the podcast he's doing now, and becoming that eventual worldwide speaker in the self-improvement space, in the spirituality space. If it weren't for that rock bottom, if it weren't for that failure, when things probably felt really bleak for him, he wouldn't have had the success that he had. He would never be doing what he's doing today. He wouldn't be impacting millions, if not billions of people if it weren't for these failures early on. And of course, not to the level of these two people, but reflecting on my own life. If I think about my last couple years, similar to Shetty, I felt really unhappy in the corporate world. I felt like I was pursuing a career path that was unfulfilling. And if I left that career path, then I would just be starting over, right? It felt like a failure. And I was like, why did I spend all this time and all of these years in this job that I hated, on this career path that felt so misaligned? But as much as on the surface, it felt like I wasn't meeting my true potential, it was because of that lack of fulfillment that I felt in that job that I started Fulfilled. Actually, fun fact, if you don't know it, the name of this podcast started out as Unfulfilled. I started this because I was so unhappy, because I felt like my career wasn't going in a direction that felt aligned and that felt successful. It was because of that I uncovered my real purpose and my real passion. And so something that felt like a failure in the moment alchemized into a path that I feel a lot more successful and aligned on. And I'll share more personal instances as I get into these specific examples, but here are the specific reasons why failure and rejection is such a good thing, why we should welcome failure and rejection into our life, and why that failure and rejection that you either are experiencing, have recently experienced, or are going to experience is only helping you. It is only helping you win in the long run. First reason, one that I touched on a little bit ago, but let's dive into it. This failure, this rejection, it is here to teach you. Every single time that life doesn't go our way, every single experience that might feel like a failure on the surface, there is an intentional and necessary lesson behind it. I now see every single failure as just data and ways to grow, right? Like, what did I learn from that experience? How did that experience make me better, make me more resilient? What did I learn from that experience that I can take moving forward to show up better next time, to be a little bit more successful next time? Coming back to these successful people that I talked about, right? Michael Jordan, Shetty, fill in the blank of any successful people that you think of. They didn't get to where they are now because they didn't encounter failure. They got there because they viewed failure as a way to learn and grow. They powered through every time life didn't go their way, every time they, quote, failed, every time they got rejected, and got better from it. They learned from it. Every single shot Michael Jordan missed, he learned what he did wrong that time and got a little bit better. or practiced a little bit harder, right? Shetty even speaks about how he literally did some talks to empty rooms, right? Because early on, no one cared. No one gave a shit, right? Like he literally kept showing up for himself, even in situations that seemed like a total failure. No one showing up to a talk, right? But he powered through. He learned from it. He became better through it. And this is a huge shift that I really want to dive into here, that it's not about avoiding failure. It's not about having a life where we never get rejected, where we never fail. Because again, what that means is that we're avoiding putting ourselves out there. We're avoiding taking risks that are ever going to lead to us stepping into our true potential. There is no life without rejection and failure, but we can start to see it as a good thing. Maybe this failure and rejection is a sign that we are stepping into our best selves, that we are putting ourselves out there, and that we are continuing to learn and grow into our best selves. I actually heard this quote and this reframe from a book I was reading. I think it was the founder of Spanx, and she shared that her family at dinner that night, instead of asking like what went well that day, her dad asked her a question like, how'd you fail today? And I just loved that. And it really stuck with me because the whole point is framing failure is a good thing, right? Like encouraging his kids to fail, because that means they're putting themselves out there. That means they're trying new things and pushing themselves and learning and growing. And so I feel like that's really relevant here because our bodies tell us that failure is a scary thing. Failure is something to avoid. But the truth is, failure is how we step into our best selves. Failure is how we learn the lessons that we need to learn, that we're meant to learn along the way. And this is a helpful reminder for us to start to see failure as a good thing, right? To welcome it, to ask, how did I fail today? If I didn't fail today, maybe I'm not learning and growing enough, right? Maybe I'm not taking enough risk. I honestly feel so grateful for the ways that I've personally failed in my recent life because they have taught me the lessons that I needed to learn, and honestly, some of the most necessary and important lessons in my life. So I'll get a little specific here, right? I won't just talk about celebrities the whole time. So a big one a lot of you might relate to is a relationship that didn't work out, right? I had one of my own recently in the last couple of years. It was honestly not the healthiest of relationships in the long run and wasn't going to be meant for me, but it was a couple years, right? And of course, when you leave a relationship like that, your immediate thought is like, was that a waste of time? It felt like a failed relationship, like I have to start all over now. But quite honestly, I'm so grateful for that relationship because I grew into such a strong version of myself. I learned how to be in a serious relationship, right? I learned how I should be treated and how I shouldn't be treated. I learned how to show up for someone else in a very close and deep and intimate way. I learned a lot about what I wanted from that relationship. And again, also how a relationship shouldn't go. I honestly have this belief that sometimes we have to go through those relationships to learn the hard lessons, but it's those lessons that prepare us and set us up for the healthy relationship that comes along, right? If we didn't have that failed relationship or those failed relationships, maybe plural, then we wouldn't have learned what we needed to learn in order to be ready to then be in that healthy relationship. And another one that for a while felt like a rejection or a failure for a bit was when I was doing the podcast on top of my corporate job. I wanted to leave my corporate job so badly that I was just like desperately waiting for the podcast to take off. I had these expectations that it was just gonna like grow right away, and that when it did, I could finally leave my job and just do the thing that I loved. It did, and it is taking a while to grow, right? Like things take time to grow. And at first, I, of course, could have viewed that as a failure and a rejection, right? But in reflecting, it actually taught me some really important lessons. A, how to manage my time, doing a 9 to 5 on top of a podcast every single week. B, taught me patience, taught me how to be my biggest supporter. It taught me how to stop seeking for external validation and instead show up authentically and create what feels aligned to me without needing a certain amount of listeners or approval from other people. It taught me so many lessons that have honestly really made me this version that I'm really proud of today and continue to evolve into. But if things didn't take so long to happen in the way that I initially wanted them to, I wouldn't have learned all those really important lessons that made me stronger, that made me more confident, that made me more resilient and patient, and all those things that I just shared. The truth is, we just simply don't learn nearly as much from successes. We learn from the difficult experiences. We learn from the rejections. We learn from the failures. It humbles us. It makes us better. And my friend shared this idea with me once that every single one of us is here on this earth to learn certain lessons. And every failure, every rejection is taking us closer to those really intentional lessons that we are here to learn. We all need to learn these lessons. So if it's not this failure, if it's not this rejection, it's probably going to be another one. So know that that failure wasn't a waste of time. It taught you something so important. It allowed you to grow into this version of you that's sitting here right now listening to this episode. Think of all the things that that failure gave you. Think of all the ways that it's helped you evolve. Think of all the opportunities that have come into your life because of those lessons that it taught you. And quick aside, if you are resonating with any of this, if you want to step into your true potential, but feel bogged down by failure, by rejection, are struggling to see the light, struggling to know what steps are meant for you next, I'm working one-on-one with clients in my life coaching practice to help you step into your true potential, to help you with these exact kind of shifts that you need to really up level and to really gain that momentum and positivity in your life and to feel good about who you are and what you are doing. So check out my website linked below. I would love to connect with you. Let's have a free clarity call. Okay, back to the episode. Second reason why this failure is a good thing, why this failure and rejection is actually a win. Our expectations are never going to exactly meet reality. So again, the definition of failure is when our expectations look different than what actually happens, right? Like when the idea we have in our minds isn't what reality presents. But the truth is, our expectations never meet reality. So therefore, we could see most things as failure. We could be disappointed by most things in life if we're always clinging to these super specific expectations. We can't predict life. We don't know exactly how it's going to go. But if we view every unexpected turn in life, everything that doesn't meet our expectations as a negative thing, as a failure, then we're going to see most of our life as a failure. And we're going to be really closed off to things that are really probably actually meant for us because we have that tunnel vision on these expectations. Let me take a step back. I think we all set these expectations based on what other people are doing, right? What we're seeing on social media, how quick that person took off doing XYZ, and oh, they're going to that place, so my trip's going to look exactly like theirs, right? Or like, I'm going to follow that person's career path. We set expectations often based on the external world, on society, on what we think we should do, what that person's life looks like. But we're on our own path. And whatever is meant for us, it is happening exactly as it's meant to. It is unfolding as it's meant to. Every single obstacle, challenge, failure, it is here to bring you down that path. I truly believe that every single one of us has a path, has a timeline, intentional lessons we're meant to learn, and every single experience is bringing us closer to that. It's intentional, and our expectations are never going to meet that intentional reality, what the universe and God is presenting to us, what our path is actually unfolding as. So your body might be feeling unsafe, right? Thinking that it's a failure if the expectations don't match your reality, but it's a good thing because reality's unfolding as it's meant to. And sometimes letting go of those super specific expectations and instead staying open to what's really meant for you, it's going to lead you to a far more aligned place and your true path, the path that you're really meant to be on. So again, with my personal podcast example, right? Like I thought it was going to take off right away. I was like probably being a little delusional, right? And I was like, people are going to hear it and they're going to love it and it's going to take off and la, la, la. Yeah, of course that doesn't happen right away. Like, you know, all the facts about how saturated the podcast space is. And like, there is no such thing as an overnight success. So I was being a little delusional up here. But honestly, I also genuinely believe that it was all very intentional. This is a part of God's plan because I was meant to get better at the craft. I was meant to, again, learn all these lessons I was meant to learn. The timeline is intentional. The path is intentional. There's plenty of moments that feel like failure and rejection along the way because my expectations aren't meeting how it's happening, right? Like the timing of it all, the success of certain episodes, showing up when I don't feel like it. It all feels like failure and uncomfortable a lot of the time, but if I zoom out and come back to trust, I know that these failures and these rejections are all an intentional part of the plan. In fact, they're not failure or rejection. It's unfolding as it's meant to, even if it doesn't look like the expectations we have in our mind. If that relationship didn't work out as you really wanted it to, it is for a reason. This is intentional. Know that around the corner on your path, there is something far better and far more aligned for you, even if you don't see that right now. Maybe you had these big dreams and expectations to get this one job, and maybe it didn't work out. Maybe it feels like a failure, and maybe you don't know what's next. It's intentional. You might not know what that next job is, and you might not know what the path looks like, but there is an intentional path, and this failure, this rejection, is a part of it. It's a win. It's setting you up and pushing you further along this path, even if that's not clear right now. So this whole second point is coming back to trust, right? Trust that this is a part of it. There is a plan specific to you. It's going to look different than everyone else's. It's going to look different than mine. It's going to look different than your neighbors, than that person on social media. This is a part of your plan. And then third point, final point I want to make here, why failure and rejection is a positive thing. Just think about how boring life would be if everything worked out exactly as we wanted it to. If we just so easily attracted all the success that we wanted and we never experienced failure, rejection, or challenge along the way. How boring would that life be? That predictable life where we could just know exactly what's coming. Again, we see failure and rejection and obstacles as a negative thing. Our body gets into fight or flight and wants to avoid it. We want to keep ourselves feeling safe. But the reality is we also crave that unpredictability. It might not feel obvious, but it's the uncertainty in life. It's these failures, obstacles, rejections that makes life colorful and interesting, that challenges us in these beautiful ways, that give us these experiences that are colorful, that make us better. It's in these obstacles, challenges, failures, roadblocks, fill in the blank, right? That is where the possibility and opportunity lies. And yes, it might feel scary and it might feel uncomfortable and your body might be like, we're not going to go down that route. But the other route is just a predictable life where everything comes easy. And to me, that doesn't sound fun. So we need to accept failure and rejection as a part of it. In fact, accept it as a good sign that we are on the right path. And I want to conclude here with this one final point. When it comes to failure and rejection, we're so focused on what we missed out on what we didn't get, on what could have been, right? That we choose to focus on that instead of all that we gained from it, all the opportunity that's on the other side of this, all the other opportunities that might be far more aligned for us. It's simply shifting our focus to how is this a good thing? How is this redirecting me towards a far more aligned life? How is this allowing me to grow into the version of me that is actually ready to receive what is meant for me? What am I learning from this? How is this specific failure, this specific rejection leading me to the biggest wins, the biggest successes that I might not even be able to imagine right now? This failure, that failure, the upcoming failure, it is here for a reason. It is here to teach you. It is directing you on your intentional timeline. And it is making your life so colorful, so exciting. It's where all the opportunities lie. So let go of identifying with that failure, right? This means nothing about you. All it is an opportunity to become better and to be redirected on that aligned path that's meant for you. And again, I am fully welcoming in failure. I'm fully welcoming in rejection. I'm fully welcoming in life not working out my way because I trust fully from the experiences that I've shared and things that continue to come up in my life that it is all working out for the better. It might not always feel clear in the moment. It often rarely does, but it's about coming back to trust. I am trusting that everything is here to teach me what I am meant to learn and to guide me down the path that I am meant to walk down. And almost always that is through these failures and rejections. So I hope you are ending today's episode feeling a little bit more like a winner. And I encourage you to lean into that rejection, lean into that failure, know that it is here for a reason. So I know I'm dragging on here, so I will wrap up. If you enjoyed today's episode, again, don't forget to press follow or subscribe wherever you are listening to Fulfilled. Leave a rating and comment on this show. This would mean the world for me in my efforts to grow the Fulfilled community. And I'm so, so grateful that you're here listening. I'll see you all again soon on your journeys to living this life fully.